Good day and happy blessed Friday. I was sitting here and I was thinking about few experiences growing up and this ongoing conversation with people about the dark skin, light skin kind of rhetoric that gets pushed. And it made me think about house slave, field slave. And so the house slave was obviously in the house and they did chores like cooking, cleaning, um, tending to children not of their own, and were used as sexual slaves. And then you have the field slaves, and the field slaves obviously labored and tilled the land, planting, harvesting, whether it be cotton, sugar, tobacco, rice, whatever, but they were also subject to be slaves, sexual slaves as well. And I'm thinking to myself, was it any different to get raped, or any better rather to get raped in the field as it was to get raped in the house? No, rape is rape. Could you determine the complexion of the child that came from the rape? No. But somehow the psychological mind fuck was that those in the house maybe thought they were better than those in the field, even though they were subject to the same amount of harm and pain. And I guess that way of thinking has been something that has been transformed into, let's just say, modern day slavery. And when we talk about modern day slavery, we talk about the companies and organizations in which people are hired into, and the hierarchy of house slave and field slave. So the field slaves are the ones that do the brunt end of the work. The house slaves are those who sit in the offices and basically oversee those who work in the field. Both still slaves, but somehow sitting in the office versus being in the field makes people feel as if they're in a different position, and ultimately they're not. They're not in a different position because they're still subject to the same harm or hurt or pain that those in the field are subject to as well. But there's a key ingredient. It's the overseer. Now, back in the day, the overseer over slaves was usually a white person, and they still have white overseers. But the most deceptive one was the black overseer, because the black one, typically, black is a color. So, but for terms of like people's understanding, the black one was the one who went extra hard, went harder than the white one, had something to prove. And those overseers are then placed over people who look like them, and they oversee the work of those doing the hard labor, right? So it says an overseer was to ensure that the slaves were doing as much work as they should be, and that everything was being done to improve the crop field, the job, the company, the organization. You get my drift. All still very much enslaved. Unless it's yours, you don't own it. And then you are confined by the rules and regulations in which these overseers, these owners, subject you to. And so there's this idea that you're as good as you are until they don't need you anymore and you can easily be replaced. And how far are you willing to go, or have you gone with certain owners, companies, organizations, and then later regretted it because they let your ass go? And that's the type of stuff that happens. You're put in a position where you have to choose something that if you ordinarily wouldn't have been placed in that position, you would have never chosen it. But what's said is, if you don't do this, then you don't get this, right? So it's not as if it's something you choose on your own accord. It's something that's being forced upon you. And today is no different. Today we sit in the face of watching people lose jobs based off of decisions that they make, feeling that those decisions are best for them. And it's the overseers that often look like us, or you and I, or people similar to us, who enforce those rules and regulations. And the overseer is usually the one who is quick to comply, quick to join, quick to agree. But those who are not get the brunt end of whatever decisions are made. So, house slave, field slave, overseer, worker bee, manager, dark skin, light skin, all slaves, all enslaved. And it's just sad. I remember there was a story that happened with my older sister in high school, and they did this brown paper bag bullshit. And the brown paper bag was to pull out a paper bag and to put it up to someone's face and say, basically, if your skin tone doesn't match this bag, we're not kicking it with you. It's fucked up, right? Because that just goes to show you how deeply embedded, systematic, all kinds of isms are placed upon people, and they've actually bought in. And I want you to ask yourself, buying in, was it worth it? Is it worth it? And what do you have to show for? So it was just a thought I had, and I wanted to share. And in the words of one of my homegirls, that in the beginning of all this madness happening, she said, I just don't want to play anymore. And I felt that. And I don't think I've ever wanted to play. I've done what I felt like I had to do, until you start to step back and realize, what kind of bullshit is this? What part of the game is it? And it's just that, it's a game. And I hope you choose you. And I hope you choose what's right for you. And I hope you take care. So thank you for listening. Happy blessed Friday. Please take care of yourselves.